All right, I think we are streaming live. So I'm gonna just give a few minutes to everybody to hop on here. Happy Wednesday, happy New Year 2023. Super excited. I'm definitely gonna have to not watch myself or at least mute myself for now. If you're on here, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna give it a few minutes, make sure I share the live stream with everybody that was wanting to hop on here and just kind of get some advice. But of course, you can always come back and watch it a little bit later if you are not able to hop on here live. But the biggest thing that I was going, so the biggest thing that I want to talk about today is basically just virtual hiring, how to land a remote job. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Quentin. I'm the founder of DaaS, Developers as a Service. And what we do is we specialize in placing remote software developers from overseas with US startups, Canadian startups, really startups from anywhere in the world who are looking to access top tier, high quality developers. So today I put together a presentation to go over just what I think are the most important things to keep in mind whenever you're looking to get hired. A lot of these apply to all different kinds of industries, whether it's massive in-person companies, multi-billion dollar conglomerates, or if it's startups, which is what we're going to focus on today. You can still apply these same principles to kind of stand out above the rest and get hired. So I have a whole presentation I'm going to go over. I'm going to give it just a few minutes for everybody to hop on here. It looks like my screen is looking a little weird, the coloring, but that's okay. Get it figured out. And by the way, this is my first live, so please forgive if it's a little awkward on this first one, but we'll get it figured out as we go. I'll get some people on the live stream here from LinkedIn. If you guys are hopping on, please drop a comment in the stream so that I know. Looks like we got about 3 people on here now. And I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen for just a second. If you guys hear something in the background, I apologize. I'm right next to a road. It's super loud here. Let me get my presentation pulled up here. All right, you guys should hopefully be able to see my screen here. If you are hopping on here, please again let me know in the chat. I'm probably going to give about another minute, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. Give it just a couple more minutes for everybody to hop on here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hop on in here. Let's get hired. So if you're just hopping in, let me know, leave a chat, leave something in the, leave a message in the chat. But otherwise, we will go ahead and dive on in here. So I just want to share one more time to make sure if anybody else is wanting to see this, they get access to the link. Anyway, cool. So today the focus is going to be on resume best practices. I'm actually going to show you an example of what my most up-to-date resume would look like compared to what it looked like at the very beginning before I ever started focusing on if any of this matters. We're going to focus on going beyond the application. So more than just what your resume says, more than just looking at the job, talk about the interview itself and what you should focus on during the interview. And then I'm going to give you a few action items to actually work on moving forward. So some resume best practices. The first thing is to make sure you tailor your resume to the specific job you're applying for. So if you're applying to, several different jobs that all have different scopes, you are going to have to take some time to go through and specify what skills you feel are most relevant to the job that you're applying for. Because again, these hiring managers, the people who are overlooking your resumes, a lot of times they're not going to make it all the way down if they have to scroll even once on your resume. And so they want to be able to see, like, what is the most relevant experience? What do you feel is going to be the most helpful in the actual job function that we're looking to hire for? And so just using the same exact resume to apply to every single job, you may, just by the law of numbers, be able to, law of probability, you'll probably get more people to reach out. But at the same time, you may be kind of wasting your own time and not putting in the effort to just, make it look a little bit better for that job specifically. Use quantifiable examples. So instead of saying I improved the team efficiency, you can say I improved team efficiency by 25%, or I improved efficiency enough, resulting in a 25% increase in productivity. So just little things like this, numbers really stand out. Don't overuse numbers, because then it feels like a math problem. It feels like they have to really search through a lot of complicated stuff to get to what they really care about, which is, are you a good fit or not? Are you going to be the right person for this job? And then, of course, use a clear and professional layout. So that means using a standard font, proper formatting, and plenty of white space. And the cool thing is that nowadays there's a lot of free templates on Word. If you have Word, Microsoft Word, they have tons of free document or free resume examples. And I'll show you what one that I actually used not too long ago. And then make sure that you don't try to add too much design. If you try to add too much color and design and, all these fancy stuff, people are just, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, and they're going to just kind of ignore it and think that, I can't really do it. So you want to have your name, you want to have your title, and then you want to have the most recent and relevant experience that you think would work for this job. So with that being said, let me go ahead and pull one up real quick. And again, if you're here, guys, let me know. Looks like we got a few people in the chat here, which is awesome. So I'm going to actually pull up this resume example here, and we'll get a chance to check out what that looks like. Pulling up here. Sorry. Give me 1 second, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead, drop them in the chat, and I will be sure to get to them just as soon as I can. But here we go. So if we look at this most recent one, what I would put, based on my experience and based off of my past roles that I've worked with, I would say software solutions engineer or AI solutions expert. So that's mostly what I would focus on in terms of what is the role I would actually want to fill myself. So of course, after that, the most recent experience you're going to want to put is DaaS, developers as a service. That's mine, the company that I founded. That's the whole reason we're doing this presentation today. Capri AI, Atlas Intel, and then from there, you want to put a brief but informative paragraph explaining what it is that you did in that position. So in my position, I offered software development guidance to non-technical, small and medium-sized business owners for general project management and planning to full service software development. So what this does is, again, without going into a super long explanation of the specific projects that we did, I am able to give an idea to whoever might be reading this, what kind of role I played and what kind of actual work we were doing for our clients. And then on the right, in a very easy to see way, I have all of my skills that I want to be able to show off that I know. And this is going to make it really easy for a recruiter or a hiring manager to get an idea of, is this something I want to continue to read? Right. If you start at the top with your education, I can almost guarantee you they're going to pass right over. They're never going to even see it. If you start at the top with your personal kind of description of what you like and what you're interested in and stuff like that, they're going to pass right over it. The biggest thing that they want to see is what's your title, because that kind of gives them the first introduction into your relevance to this job role. And then your most recent experience, because in a hiring manager's mind, the worst thing they want to do, oh no, I don't want to say worst thing, but one of the first things they look out for is, does this person have experience with up-to-date trends? And again, we're talking mostly in the startup world. The startup world is very fast-paced. It's very recent technology. If you're looking at more of like, I'm connected with the Windows Management Expert Solutions company, where all they do is they provide solutions to people who are using Windows management systems. And so, yes, Windows does have more up-to-date technology, but it may be more important for you to have become a specialist in Windows technology when it was first released, which was, a few years ago, quite a few years ago, versus, if you have been working with, let's say, Google Cloud Platform, you've been working with them since 2014, but then you stopped working with it in 2016 and you moved into a non-technical role, you can have those technical skills expire. And that doesn't mean they go away, but you're not going to be able to jump right into the role as quickly as somebody who has their most recent project involved the OAuth protocol and involved RESTful API integrations and involved all the stuff that is more recent and relevant. So make sure at the very top, the first thing they're able to see is, again, what is your most relevant recent experience, and what skills are involved in that recent relevant experience. So this is kind of a way to subconsciously relate your skills to the timeline of those skills, if that makes sense. So that's just an example of a resume for you guys to just kind of take a good look at. So coming back now to resume best practices, back to our presentation here. Let me get back to it. Sorry, I have way too many windows open. Cool. So keep your resume to 1 or 2 pages. So again, don't make it too long. It's going to be, I'll make sure that the screen sharing is coming back properly. If you guys can see my screen, if you guys can't see my screen, let me know. Seems like it's not actually sharing proper. Oh, there it is. Of course, as soon as I stop, it goes back to it. So keep your resume to 1 or 2 pages. This shows that you can present your information clearly and concisely. And again, if it's longer than 2 pages, it's very unlikely that they're even going to read it. So a lot of people might be wondering, okay, well, what if I don't have any experience? What if I'm not able to put all of these past roles and positions and leadership stuff, but I really still want to be able to stand out? So the best thing you can do is highlight any relevant coursework or projects. And again, you are not going to be able to do this in a high volume capacity. You're not going to be able to use one resume to blast out to several different jobs, especially if you have no experience. You're probably going to have to rewrite your resume for each position that you're trying to apply to make it so that the experience that you reference justifies your application for this position. So if you're looking for, let's say you just graduated as an electrical engineer, and a lot of your roles were courses that were just doing projects based on the course assignment, right? So talk about the problems that you solved in that course assignment. Don't just talk about the assignment itself and just the tools that you used, but talk about if you did like the MNIST fashion database, right? Talk about, if we're talking about machine learning here, if you want to work for a machine learning startup that's looking maybe for a junior machine learning data scientist role, you can talk about how one of the issues with the MNIST database is the structure of the data before you can train it. And then you can talk about how one of the major desires of e-commerce and retail customers today is the application of machine learning vision AI on classification of this, and this. using TensorFlow and the MNIST fashion database, I was able to build a classifier for fashion pictures on an untrained data set with an accuracy of XYZ, right? So that takes this simple school project that you did, which focuses just on, hey, can you build a basic, computer vision classification model on the MNIST fashion database, which everybody, in software engineering for the most part that's looked into ML has done. You take that and you relate it to a real world problem, and you relate it to how it's solving that real world problem in a business sense. That will stand out to the recruiters and to hiring managers who are looking for people who understand the problem that's trying to be solved. Just referencing the coursework itself, you're just going to be like everybody else that says, yeah, I've done that as well. So a lot of this is selling yourself, right? And of course, if you have had any internships or co-op positions or any part-time jobs, even if they're not directly related to software development, highlight your soft skills, right? Talk if you've worked in teams and a lot of big teams, and you've worked in customer support roles, stuff that required effective communication, that's going to be super valuable to startups that are looking to hire, remote developers. Specifically, remote developers, communication is super important. But overall, remember, you're selling yourself, right? You're selling your skills. And so the way you talk about your own skills is very much makes an impact on how it's perceived when somebody's reading it on the other side of your resume. So another thing you can do, again, is if you have done any certifications or trainings or online courses, boot camps, anything like Kaggle competitions, if you're in machine learning, if you've done any hackathons, if you're in cybersecurity, if you've done anything that you feel like you're proud of, like projects that you can kind of put your hat on, say, yeah, I'm proud of that, always include it. But again, don't just say, I accomplished this product or I accomplished this goal using these technologies. Sell it, right? Provide the value of what's the problem I'm solving and why is this solution important and how does it relate to the overall real world. And emphasize the skills that you have. And again, this is talking more about the skills that you've developed in solving those problems rather than just the fact that you've done it and working in a team. Now, if you don't have a lot of experience, if you don't have leadership experience, if you don't have all that, you have to manage your expectations, right? Some startups will actually see this as a really good thing. They'll see it as an advantage because they're willing to exchange their experience, the startup's experience, for initially a lower compensation, but they're looking for team members that want to grow with the company. And so they're looking for people who have ambition and people who are, people who are really wanting to solve the problem that the startup is focused on rather than just somebody who wants the job, right? Eventually, once they're well enough funded and the core team has grown and they're beyond that initial startup phase, yeah, it's just more so based on your hard skills and your communication ability. But at the very beginning, if you're looking to join a smaller, flexible team, it's going to be based on, are you looking to grow with us? Are you looking to be part of something bigger? So going into interviewing startups. So interviewing with startups, the number one thing, especially for smaller startups, that you have to overcome is the pure amount of time that it takes to find the right person. So with startups, specifically for technical roles, the person that usually needs to do the interview is one of the busiest people on the team. So it'll be a product manager, it'll be an engineering VP, it'll be, just somebody, a senior technical member, because they're the only one who can really verify the technical capabilities of the person being hired. And that person is always going to be the busiest person in a technical startup, like in a SaaS focused startup, software startup. They're always going to be the person who has to deal with marketing, sales, legal, operations, development, DevOps, all the stuff related with getting a product to launch and to be ultimately successful. So overcoming that time barrier is super important. And so how do you stand out is the hiring manager wants to feel confident that you're going to be independent, you're going to be forward thinking, and you're going to bring a positive energy to the team, right? Like that's the biggest thing that they're going to care about, even beyond your hard skills. So to show them that, go beyond the application. If you find the application, the job application on Indeed or LinkedIn or one of these other job sites, if you find the name of the company, go beyond it. As obviously as it may seem, use LinkedIn. Almost every startup has a connection to their social media page at the footer of their website. If you go to our website right now, if you go to hire.workwithdaas.com, which is where we send most of our traffic, you'll see that our LinkedIn tag is right at the bottom. And it'll take you straight to our LinkedIn page. And if you go to the LinkedIn page, click on the people tab, then you can actually send connection requests from the page itself. And if you have a free tier of LinkedIn, you're going to be limited to the number of people that you can do this for. So make sure you use it only on positions that you really, really care about. But it's a good way to stand out, especially for jobs that may have a ton of applicants that, is super competitive. And send a note with your invitation request. And the thing is, don't overthink this note. This note can be super, super simple. All you have to do is say, hey, I'm reaching out about the XYZ position, looking forward to getting connected, like looking forward to connecting. Thanks for connecting. Something super simple. Don't try to put a paragraph about why you think you'd be a good fit. Just send a super simple note and just say, hey, I think you'd be a good fit. Thanks. And that'll kind of help you stand out again above all the people who are just getting buried in the application stack, because your name will sound familiar whenever we come across your application. And then demonstrate some independent research. So be sure to mention the research that you did about the company prior to the interview. And this is usually going to be after you've had some kind of contact and you've confirmed that you're going to have an interview and you know a little bit about the company and what the position is or what role that position plays in the company, and relate it to your personal interest and your personal experience. So if you see a company that's in the financial tech field right there in fintech, and they are working on, a more secure way of doing peer-to-peer transactions, you can talk about experience you have with cybersecurity fundamentals and theories and the most important practices when dealing with safe data transfer and, encryption types and all the different important factors that about that you have experience with that will relate to the most important values of this company, right? Not just the job itself, but the overall company and the mission that they have and the value that they're looking to provide to their clients ultimately. And keep your intro brief, right? And highlight the most important qualities you'd feel make you a good fit. So if we're talking about a full stack role or even a back-end cloud developer role, if I was applying for that, I would say something like, hey, my name's Quentin, or, obviously they know my name by now. They'd say, tell me a little bit about yourself. I would say something like, well, I'm a full stack developer with about 3 years of experience working with cloud native serverless microservice technologies, mostly Google Cloud. But I really like building web applications and doing RESTful API integrations. So that's a super simple integration that focuses on what I enjoy. And at the end of it, you say something like, I'm looking forward to getting to know more about you, this company, this position, where you guys are headed, something along those lines. But I'm looking forward to this is a good way to kind of show your intention of having more than just this conversation. So it's very important. Small words, but very important. And most importantly, breathe, right? So this is something I tell everybody that I interview, especially through DaaS. The most important thing that you have to do, and the worst thing that a lot of people don't do, is breathe. They don't actually take deep breaths whenever they are talking to an interviewer or hiring manager or something like that. They get really choked up and their chest feels really tight, and it kind of keeps you from even talking more because your brain automatically thinks that you're limited on oxygen, and so therefore you have to minimize the amount of things that you say, and you automatically pause more just naturally because you need to breathe. when you pause more, it makes your sentence sound less natural, makes the conversation a little more awkward, and it's going to immediately hurt your confidence. So breathe. Remember, you're having a normal conversation. At the end of the day, it's just one person to another, right? So you're just having one conversation, and most importantly, you're going to have many more conversations. So ideally, especially if you listen to some of this advice, this is not the only conversation you're going to have. And so if you feel like it's going terribly and you feel like this is the worst interview you've ever done in your life, just remember this is not the last one you'll ever have. You'll have plenty of opportunities, maybe even for this exact same company or this exact same role in the future. So don't worry about it too much. So let's talk about some action items of what we can actually do to get prepared for taking these remote interviews and trying to get placed with these companies. So first of all, simplify your resume, right? So a lot of people have just way overly complicated resumes that have too much font, too much stuff attached to it. And it's hurting you more than it's helping you, honestly. So simplify your resume, use easy to read, simple font with adequate white spacing. And like I said, put your most relevant experience, put your title, your most relevant experience, and then the skills that you want. Put them all in the first block of the resume so that it's super easy to read. There you go. Write down your introduction and practice it in the mirror. So like I said, my name's Quentin. I'm a full stack developer with about 3 years of experience. I like working with cloud native microservice architecture applications. I'm really passionate about AI. I'm looking forward to learning more about your company and this position. So that was even awkward. Had a bunch of spaces in between it. It's probably like the second time I've ever said it specifically because I haven't had to apply for a job in a while. But when I guide people through how they would apply their own introduction, I always make sure write it down, just practice in the mirror a bunch of times, and then send out 10 connection requests on LinkedIn with personalized welcome messages. And it says, hi, I saw your video about this, or I saw your article about this, or I saw your job posting about this. Would love to get connected. Something like that. And then of course, reach out to us, stay connected. This is what we love to do, is help developers land their dream jobs with the companies that they want to work with. And a lot of times they get looked over because, they don't necessarily know how to sell themselves, or they don't know how to prove their value through a short interaction. And so we'll guide you on how to do that. So send an email to admin@workwithdaas or visit us at workwithdaas.com. And we're happy to provide all this kind of guidance and instruction. And of course, if we are able to connect you with a full-time position that is open, we're happy to do that as well. But otherwise, if you have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments. I think we're going to end it here for today. I think this is a good one for our first ever live. There will be many more, and we'll be better prepared for them next time. But if you joined today, thank you so much. Leave a comment to let me know you're here. And I'm also going to put in the description or in the chat the form to actually connect with us in case you are interested in getting connected and becoming one of our developers in our pool. So look out for that in the comment section. Otherwise, have a wonderful Wednesday, and thank you all